My name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast, shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. We have extended the time on these shorter episodes from 5 to 6 minutes to 15 to 20 minutes for this season. This is so that these shorts can serve as introductory episodes released ahead of our weekly, longer form episodes. But don't worry, I will still let you know my observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership, particularly as we prepare for the restoration of leadership and leadership principles during the next historical high in America. Why these episodes? Well, because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 15 to 20 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book that you bought with that famous person's name as the author, but you haven't applied any of the principles from that book to your leadership practices. At least not yet. Human beings change culture. It's what we do, repeatedly, with every iteration of human culture, from the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and the Jews, all the way to the Western Europeans, the Africans, the Indians, and even the North and South Americans. Human beings have insisted, against all resistance, and good sense probably, that change is the only persistent variable. In our era, in the 21st century, an era of instant information but slow wisdom, we have prioritized other variables to explain away the ways in which humans transform culture. But those other variables pale in comparison and shrink in power in the face of the variable of change. Humans are adaptable. We could become encultured, for lack of a better term, to passivity, poverty, the tyranny of other men, and even the totalizing embrace of our natural environments. Over the course of time, or history if you will, humans shape the external environment as much as they shape their internal reactions and responses to it. Then, of course, there are the tender mercies of other men. We spend an inordinate amount of time and energy, from cradle to the grave, attempting to persuade, cajole, sell, manipulate, or even deceive other people to serve our very own malleable and adaptable ends. Human beings in general don't think too deeply about all these dynamics, partially because life is complicated enough at the most baseline level of acquiring sustenance, remaining clothed, and maintaining some sort of shelter against ruthless nature. Just engaging in those pursuits has taken up 90% of humanity's energy for almost 95% of all recorded human history. The other reason we don't think about those dynamics is that it is more extraordinarily difficult than we can consciously acknowledge to raise culture up enough in all of its multivariant levels to the point where even being able to think about all of these areas of change and adaptability becomes a viable option for more than 5 to 10% of the available population. And within this realization lies the true challenge of change. There's one aspect to all this thinking about human beings and our nature that is another elephant in the room, barely addressed. Hierarchies exist. They exist in the family between people and in the neighborhoods between households. They exist between neighborhoods and other neighborhoods, and even between cities and nation-states. Most human change at scale is driven by attempts by individual humans to identify the hierarchy, determine their place in it, and then to move, literally, psychologically, emotionally, and in some cases spiritually, through, around, across, under, and even to leap over the hierarchy. Status signaling, status chasing, and status defending are all invisible acts that, in general, create visible outcomes. Someone lives in a better-looking house than yours. Someone else appears to have a cushier job making more money than you. And yet another person seems to fall backward into opportunities that you have to struggle against invisible resistance to even begin to make appear. The presence of hierarchies, their persistent presence, befuddles the modern egalitarian mindset, and yet they are in no danger of going extinct, despite modern egalitarian humans' best efforts to flatten them. The reason they won't die is that hierarchies preserve human egos, and very few humans in history were able to successfully let go of their egos in service of a greater egalitarian democratic ideal. This is why we can name all those humans and why one of them is considered to be the Son of God. He would have had to have been. It's the only outcome, it's the only conclusion that makes any sense. Hierarchy is unavoidable. Desiring another status is envy and is a sin so old there's a whole murder in the book of Genesis about it. Status recognition, signaling, chasing, and defending are behaviors so deeply embedded in the structure of the human psyche that no one can name them, but everyone recognizes when they are happening. And through all of these acts, positive and negative, humans change culture, while also adapting almost mindlessly to the world and to the other humans around them. So what, Hassan? I can hear all of you saying out there, so what? If we can't change these things, why does it matter to waste my time talking about them, or to waste my ears listening to you talk about them? Well, here's the reason why. We are at a strange crossroads, or maybe it's a clearing, I'm not quite sure, at this moment in the continued evolution of humanity. At the individual level, we have more tools and access than other humans in history to make other humans in the future remember who we were, and to do so in a fairly accurate way. We can use our technological prowess to expose ourselves to the future, and many of us have greedily and eagerly taken up that challenge. Then there are the rest of us. We see what our fellow humans are doing. We lurk on their missives, think about what they're putting out there for the future, withhold our opinions, and become comfortable in our perceived anonymity. Because we are driven by searching for an answer to the question of, what's the point exactly? See, we understand something that the very online people still don't get. Just because you can publish doesn't mean that you should publish. Who really wants to know in the future about our individual envies, lusts, jealousies, and personal foibles? Who really wants to know about our challenges with change that even we can't fully articulate to the very people who are in person in our own families? Who are we to make people yet to be born, folks who will sit in judgment over us and over our decisions? This is where the books like Ben-Hur and Les Miserables, Invitation to a Beheading, and The Third Man become really, really interesting. Books are the curated, aggregated, and edited sum of a human culture's best attempts to engage with change in ways that will make sense in the future from the outside. And, of course, that can withstand the judgment, the ruthless judgment of the future. I have no idea what the internal narrative was of authors ranging from Sophocles to Lew Wallace, or from Shakespeare to Hemingway. And the reason why I have no idea is because their internal narrative doesn't matter. What matters is examining the best, clawing and scraping efforts of humans to change through the documenting of the interpretation of ideas smuggled, cleverly through time. Leaders, books will make the cut long into the future. Long after the infrastructure updates to the internet will have long banished the publications of the very online all the time and banished them to the Wayback Machine of technological history. And well, that's it for me.